Okay, good. Welcome, everyone. Really thrilled to have you here today. I'm Beth Conover. I'm the Executive Director of the Salazar Center for North American Conservation, and we are thrilled to have you here for our 4th annual Symposium, International Symposium for Conservation Impact, and the first one in person since 2019. So. I'm first of all just looking out at the crowd. It is an amazing group of people who are gathering here, and an amazing lineup of speakers over these 2 days. We're super honored to be hosting this group with, folks who have worked at the federal level, at the international level, and also really meaningfully at the local level. All three. We're really just stunned and thrilled to have the lineup that we have. Before I get into anything, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native tribes. We recognize the Indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. I'd now like to introduce Jordan Dresser, who's the chairman of the Northern Arapaho Tribe, for the opening blessing.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to thank every single one of you for coming out today. Thank you to the Salazar, thank you, Jen, thank you to everybody who kind of coordinated and helped make this happen. My name is Jordan Dresser. I'm chairman of the Northern Arapaho Tribe. The Northern Arapaho people have strong ties here because this is one of our ancestral homelands. So we come here as often as possible. Currently, we are located in the Wyoming on the Wind River Reservation there. We share it with the Eastern Shoshone people. It's a huge area. It's 2.1 million acres. My tribe, there's 10,000 of us. With the Eastern Shoshone, there's 4,000. But at the cornerstone of everything that we do, it's the power of conservation. And it's the power of acknowledging not only what we have, but what we need to do to preserve all aspects of life. I previously worked at the tribe's historic preservation office. I worked with the collections there. And it was my job every day to ensure that the items that we had were taken care of in a good way. But overall, the mission of the TIPOs is to protect and preserve what we have. And it's also cultural sites. And a lot of times tribes get pigeonholed to their reservations, but as acknowledged today, we go everywhere. The Northern Arapaho had ties all the way from here, all the way to the Great Lakes area. So that's the whole area that we can claim as our migratory path. So I want to thank every single one of you for coming here. And most of all, I want every single one of you to continue the work that you do. It's very important that, especially in today's climate with everything that's kind of going on, that we continue out this work in a good way and that we do it for future generations. My hope and my dream is that we can build a partnership between us with CSU and also with the reservation there, because there's so many young students there who really need opportunities. And I always believe that if a kid sees somebody who looks like them and sounds like them in certain spots, then they know it's a possibility. That's why we need so many Native people in police work, as doctors, as lawyers. So if they see it, then they know it's a possibility. So I would love to build a partnership where students from the reservation could come up here and do work during the summer and do different things like that. So they get a taste of the college life and they can go on to do good things for us. Because as us, we need so many people in different fields. We need Native people in engineering. We need our own people in those spots. so we could take things to a different level. So thank you all, and I hope you all have a great symposium, and I hope you all take this blessing home to all your families. Ho-ho.
Thank you, Jordan. Okay, good. I wanted to draw a line through from our first symposium in 2019 to this one, forward to the future. The Salazar Center, as many of you know, was created in 2016 by CSU Chancellor, then President Tony Frank, and former U.S. Senator, U.S. Secretary of Interior and current Ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar. We started operations in 2018, and this is our fourth annual symposium, but only the second one in person. Our goal at the center is to convene, connect, and share information about best-in-class practices for conservation and community development throughout North America. Past events have focused on landscape connectivity, on conservation in and around urban areas, as well as equitable access to nature, climate resilience of landscapes and cultures, as well as last year we focused on national conservation goals and the alignment between the countries of North America, with a specific focus along the US-Canada border. That resulted in a report about opportunities for transboundary conservation improvement on the US-Canada border. And this year, we're looking to the US-Mexico borderlands as a continuation of that inquiry in a different area. And we hope to bring it all together at some point in the future. What else? We are based at CSU, but we have offices in Denver and Fort Collins, and will eventually be part of the Spur campus that's being built in Denver. And we have a remarkable staff. I'd like to thank, in particular, well, all of them, but Jen Kovexis, who is our assistant. Jen, will you stand up? Is our assistant director for programs, and really, as all of you know, the force behind this convening today. Katie Bamer is our assistant director, stand up, for communications and engagement, and just wears all the hats all the time. Adriana Ortegon, where are you? There she is. Helps us with research, policy, program development, all kinds of work. Shoshana Dean is also here, also works with us on everything. And our latest addition, Emily Barbeau, please stand at the back of the room, who's our new communications person. Zarina, I should say. I also want to thank all of our advisors who are here today. If you can stand up, that would be great. I know we have Dan Stiles, Luis Benitez, Teresa Martinez, and there will be several others joining us during the day. Okay, hope you'll stay tuned. Oh, final acknowledgement. I don't want to forget Deb Brannon with Altitude Events, who is in the back, who has really made this year's event run so smoothly, so thank you. We hope you'll stay tuned at the end of the day for an exciting announcement through the VF Foundation. That's part of the VF Corporation, and a new program that we're launching. Okay, some quick housekeeping and logistics. We hope you'll follow along with the event on social media and use the hashtag Conservation Impact 2022, all one word. Secondly, I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have a wonderful group of sponsors this year that we really could not do any of this without. As many of you know, hybrid events are probably the future, but we're all still learning how to make them work, and as a result, they're a little more expensive right now. So we're super grateful to our sponsors, which include the Kelly Knox Family Foundation, the Mighty Arrow Family Foundation, the Nature Conservancy, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, the Trinchera Blanca Foundation, the Walton Family Foundation. Thank you, Ted, who's in the back. Also Jordana, who's here. I see some of you here. I apologize if I miss any of you. The Doris Duke Charitable Foundation, the Wilberforce Foundation, the Center for Large Landscape Conservation, the Colorado Water Center, Great Outdoors Colorado, Cynthia and George Mitchell Foundation, the Warner College of Natural Resources, the World Wildlife Fund, and the Center for Collaborative Conservation at Colorado State University. I'd also like to thank the Planning Committee and ask them to stand if they're present. Brian Housel with the National Park Service and the U.S. Biosphere Network, or just the U.S. Biosphere Network? Okay. Jennifer Pitt with the National Audubon Society. I know we'll be here later. Dan Stiles. John Putnam, who is with the National Park Service. Carlos Fernandez with the Nature Conservancy. Louise Mistal with the Sky Island Alliance. Jen Gooden with the Biophilia Foundation. Juan Carlos Bravo with the Wildlands Network, who I believe is joining us remotely. Lynn Scarlett, the former Secretary of Interior and Director at the Nature Conservancy. And Ernest Cook with the Network for Landscape Conservation. Thank you all. We really could not have done this without you. Okay, a little more housekeeping. For networking, there will be plenty of breaks throughout the day. We've built in time because we've heard in the past that people felt they didn't have enough time. So we hope you'll take advantage of that, whether it's to talk to folks, go for a quick walk. There's lots of good things to see around here. Is the biennial exhibit still on down the street at Union Station? So that's another option. Many others. Ask any of us. In addition to breaks throughout the day, there's no content during lunch, so you can meet with your table mates during that hour, during the lunch breaks, and at the end of each day. We'll open virtual networking rooms for those participating online who are interested. Last year, one of those took off, and they didn't want to come back to the symposium. They were having so much fun. So we invite everyone who's here in person to join us at the reception today at 4:30. Be sure to check out the attendees page on the event website, where you can see who else is participating and connect with them directly. We will be doing a graphic recording today. Carrie Van Horn, where are you? Great. There's Carrie Van Horn from Heartwood Visuals, who, if you've attended any of our events in the past, you will know does these remarkable dioramic representations of our events. For those who are more visually oriented, she will be capturing the content over the next 2 days as illustrations in person. You can check her out over there, and we will spotlight her work on Zoom as it progresses throughout the day and share the imagery from both days with everyone after the event. Spanish interpretation. Anyone here in the room who prefers to listen in Spanish, if you haven't already grabbed one, there are headsets available at the registration table, and we'll be offering Spanish interpretation all day, both days. If you're on Zoom, you can opt to listen in Spanish as well. Zoom interpreters will have provided instructions verbally and in the chat. For recordings, we will be recording all sessions both days in both English and Spanish, and we'll share those recordings after the event. And then there will be plenty of opportunities throughout the day for us all to interact through question and answers and polling. Specifically on that front, we have a program called Slido, slido.com online. If you use your mobile device, you can scan the QR code here, 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 here. We will keep the paper versions up for latecomers, but essentially, if you scan that, it will take you to a website, and I know many of us are familiar now with QR codes through pandemic menu choices. It will take you to a website that will allow you to enter questions, to be part of online polling, and that is how we will gauge audience interest in various topics during the day and kind of track our progress. We didn't want people to be hanging out on their phones too much, but this way it's basically you have your own computer in your hand, you might as well use it and use it to let us know what you're wondering. And then there will also be live opportunities for question and answer throughout the day. Okay. Once you're in Slido, you should see the options for both. There are two tabs, one for question and answers and one for polls. You can submit your questions and comments throughout the day under the Q&A tab, and when we have audience polls, you'll go to the poll tab. Poll results will be broadcast up here for everyone to see, and you'll see the Q&A spotlighted on the monitors. Or on one monitor, Katie? Which one? Both of them. Okay, good. If you have any questions about any of this, both Katie and Jen are sitting at this table over here. You can ask them, or anyone along the back can refer you to folks who can help. Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce our MC for the 2 days. For the second year in a row, we're very lucky to have Luis Benitez, who is the Vice President for Government Affairs. I told you I was going to blunder that, and Global Impact at the VF Corporation, a $23 billion holding company that includes some of the outdoor industry's most iconic brands. Prior to that, he led Colorado's Outdoor Recreation Industry Office, during which time the state's outdoor economy grew from $28 billion to $65 billion. Luis is a former Everest guide, and he currently sits on the Salazar Center's advisory board, for which we are eternally grateful. He also was recently appointed a UN ambassador, for which I've been having fun by calling him Your Grace. So with that, I had to add something at the end. Luis, please come up. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, don't you all feel so lucky? Good morning, everybody. So really quickly before we get started, take a look around you. Just turn around, look at the people behind you, say hi, say good morning, high five, awkward knuckle bump, look at a name tag. You don't need to make eye contact. See who it is behind you, see who it is around you. You probably are either sitting alone like some people out there, sitting close to people you know and feel comfortable with. The reason why I want to acknowledge that is because if you're here, you are a true believer. You are part of this family pointed towards this distinct and common goal. So I want to take time today to acknowledge that, celebrate it. At the end of 2 days, you will be sick and tired of hearing my voice. But I also want to think through that process of getting more and more disgusted with me, you will grow to understand that the only way we move this forward is by understanding how we move forward as a family together. So, this is the fourth symposium, but as Beth pointed out, I do want to be really, really clear about the fact that it's been through the pandemic, and we all know how weird and awkward that has become and continues to evolve, especially with respect to getting outside and spending time outside, and how important that is in the wild places that we appreciate, love, and attempt to protect, promote, and preserve. So on behalf of the advisory group, thank you. I had time recently to spend some time in Mexico City with Ambassador Salazar, and he continues to remain humbled and impressed by the fact that we would all gather under a banner with his name on it and even consider having a conversation like this. So thank you for taking time away to be here. So to the fun stuff, the polling questions. Who are you? Where do you come from? If you truly are part of this family and a true believer, we're going to put some stats up on the board. So if you've done your due diligence and you've scanned that little QRF code, we're going to start putting some polling questions up really quick to kick the day off so we know who at least is in the room and on Zoomville. I see you out there. Don't think you can hide. So what sector do you work in? That's the first question. I'm always so excited about the others. Who are the others? Did somebody sneak into the room? Were they just bored, had a morning off? I want to find the other and speak to them at some point today. All right. Private sector. I can't press the button, I guess, so I'm like the one lone private sector. I'm the 0.01%. Is that me? Other, 2%. In theory, this makes sense, right? We know who we are. As you look around the room, you see familiar faces, friends, colleagues, people that you've heard about. Reputations precede them, sometimes good, sometimes strange. But, the acknowledgement here is that the good news is you're probably in the right room. The more interesting news and the challenge I would put out to all of you with respect to this dialogue is, should we be on a path to move these numbers around? Should we be on a path to elevate different percentages on here? And if so, how are we responsible for that work? What does that look like moving into the future? So food for thought as you start to hit your second cup of coffee or tea or water, whatever it is that you choose. All right, we ready to move on to the second question? Everybody there? Okay, here we go. Where do you focus your conservation work? And you can check all that apply. And again, whoever these other people are, I want to, if you focus your conservation work everywhere, the Mars mission, elsewhere in the U.S. That's good. Did somebody change your mind about other? Am I making others nervous? Do you feel like you have to self-identify? Don't worry, it's okay. Deep breath. Celebrate the otherness. That's all right. But again, a challenge for action for the next couple of days. If you have put yourself there, or in the rather vague elsewhere in the U.S., talk to people about that. What is that? Where is that? I often find that these conversations about conversation happen where it's obvious and self-evident. And I find the magical stories in conversations are ones that get pulled from the places where it isn't so obvious. So if you are here in the room and you represent one of those less distinct places, let that be known. Share that story. Share that idea. All right, last but certainly not least, what are you most excited to learn about at the symposium? Choose your top 3. And Beth, I'm a little disappointed that up here there is not the question, how did Luis become a goodwill ambassador for the UN? How is that even possible? I see some people shaking their heads, disbelief, no idea why. Sort of reduces the efficacy of the UN. I get it. So again, look at this as a challenge. Maybe think about this. If there's a piece of this that you didn't answer in the affirmative and you want to know more about, seek these people out, because apparently there's a percentage of them out there. It's so wonderful as a Latino to hear Spanish in the room and to have this conversation extend across our borders. I'm immensely humbled by the focus on that work. So thank you for taking part. This is how we're going to try to keep it interactive. If you want to peek at your neighbor, see how they're answering, maybe that'll prompt a little bit of a networking question. Feel free. So thank you for continuing to stay engaged and getting back to our time here today and what our first session is going to focus on. Conservation can't happen without involving people and communities. I think we all know that to be inherently true. Our first session is going to explore those important social connections and the shared history that helps create that rich diversity that we call the borderlands.